Sean Branagan, welcome to the show.
Guy, good to see you. It's been too long, man. That one's the one that I think we see it and we think it's an aberration. Squid Game.
And I love Tarantino, and I love Japanese samurai movies. Now make me one to see it. And man, look at that.
I told you about NVIDIA. Yeah,
You
you
told me
watched
about
the
NVIDIA.
video from really early. Yeah.
Long time ago, man, long time ago. Yes, indeed. All right. Founder of Scrappy Capital and educator of entrepreneurship at the Newhouse School, Syracuse University. What's going on, man?
It's been a fun ride. We're at a really interesting time. That's what I'm hoping we're here to talk about.
Right.
I'm an old dude, so I've seen some of this before. I think we're at a really interesting time.
Sean, you're a scrappy dude. Tell me about Scrappy Capital. What it's all about. What do you
So
got?
Scrappy Capital actually came into being when two of my former students called me out on something I said. I told them, look, they aren't from the big proper schools. They're not in Silicon Valley or Boston and they won't be able to get anywhere if they want to be in venture capital. The two of them aligned and said, we're going to start our own fund only if you join. And I went, damn, that's a good move. And so Scrappy Capital was born. What we do is we invest in early seed stage of businesses where they're beyond an idea and waving their hands around. They've built something or they're like right in the market, maybe some revenue, maybe not. But early stage, small checks. We have a group of LPs that we represent. We go out and right now we've done 15 investments. We got the reason my eyes rolled, I'm not sure we approved the next one. So we will be up to 16 very soon. We put a small check in and the name Scrappy has meaning. We want them to be scrappy. We like them to not spend the money on rent and stupid stuff that makes it look like they're successful. Most of them, if not all of them, are in out of the way places. So Cincinnati, Nashville, Finland was one with a U.S. presence. Those kinds of things, out of the way places, but with an ecosystem to help them succeed. That's what we look for. We put small money in. We've had one where we've had an exit already, and I'm not permitted to talk about it.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've only been around for 5 years, but only been actively investing for, I think we're in year 3. That's a quick turnaround to an exit. And we do the 3 big areas are media and entertainment because of my Newhouse connections and everything else in my whole career. Because of the other partner, we do future work, which is kind of HR and talent, that kind of thing. And then the last one is logistics, because creepily, I had this small moment in the 80s where I was in the logistics and supply chain world. Nobody cared about it. Then COVID hit, and then everyone's like, oh, supply chain, we need innovation. Yeah, you think? So that's what we do with Scrappy Capital.
All right. Good times, good times. And what you have to say about these small companies is of great consequence to me. About 15 years ago, you told me about a small company called NVIDIA. And unfortunately, I didn't listen to you. And man, look at that.
I told you about NVIDIA. Yeah,
You
you
told me
watched
about
the
NVIDIA.
video from really early. Yeah.
Long time ago, man. Long time ago. So all of our listeners will look for other pearls of wisdom. Maybe you can tell us what the next NVIDIA is going to be about. Sean, I want to talk
This
to
is
you.
where I almost am like my own lawyer. Anything I say, I don't stand by as that, may not be a good investment because I don't look at fundamentals. I look at markets. So that's what
All
I
right.
do.
Let's look at a specific market. Let's look
Yep.
at the creator economy. And Sean, people talk about the creator economy in so many ways. How do you define it?
Well, the way I define it is the confluence of a bunch of things. Like I said, this reminds me of 2007 when Jobs held up the iPhone, and everybody now looks back and go, "Oh, that began mobile." Okay, there were actual conversations and big articles about can Apple be a telephone company. It wasn't as evident as it appears from in the rearview mirror. We are seeing a lot of this kind of stuff right now. So you're seeing software that supports both the creative and the distribution of all sorts of media and entertainment. Meanwhile, we have this influencer market that I know you teach social media. I think it's over. It's the influencer market is really just a cut and paste of what was familiar for brands. Oh, I'll put my ads on these really popular shows. Sales will happen. I will get my resume together. I'll move on to the next brand and I'll be fine. And that actually worked well for a while. Then they cut and pasted it to, oh, this person, this personality has 1 million, 2 million, 20 million followers. We'll do the same. They're really not influencers. Influencers have a real, it's a definition. It has a meaning. And am I doing what it is they recommend? Will it? And so within that, there's ones like Marquez Brownlee and Molly Burke and people like that that are true believe, they know their area. They're not just trying to do followership. Although Marquez has a ton of followers and subscribers, he isn't seeking them. And, the Green Brothers and people like that, where they actually have story and purpose. That confluence of two elements, the software and the capabilities, new things coming out with AI that are all in the creative side, and then just this new group of creators who are finding their footing. And they're getting discounted like, oh no, that's terrible production value. Okay, terrible production value is what you call it until it becomes the standard, and then it's called the standard. And a lot of the things that they have come up with in this user-generated content, you start seeing it on traditional TV and on traditional media. And that's whole thing is the creator economy, where these new players are coming in, software companies, big tech companies that are, that are building on that. Some, the media companies, I think they're missing it. Most of them are missing it, sadly. And then all these new creators. So ultimately, just to get to what I usually say is, the creator economy is a robust middle class of creatives. That's what it really is going toward. And we've done this before. LA did it in the 70s and 80s, where it used to be, if you look at the credits of a movie, it would run and it'd take about 2 minutes. Why? Because everybody worked for me. I made the movie, you all are on the payroll, I decide who I'm going to put on the credits, done. Now, everybody's an independent. Who did the special effects? Who did the catering? Who was the band at the catering? All of them are in the credits because they're all independents. And that happened back in the 70s and 80s. It transformed Hollywood. Most of us don't know it because we don't know those names. There's a million of them. Think of how many things come up before the movie comes on. This, and that. You don't know who these people are. They're all making what used to be one business. They make it for a minute, split, and they reform into new projects and new ventures. We're going to see that at even smaller, but also larger size. We're already seeing it. Actually, I got one I want to tell you about. I was telling
Tell me
you.
about it. Tell me about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, go ahead.
Think of this. So the average movie, big time movie, it costs about $65 million. You got $65 million laying around? Okay, so
I would if I buy your Nvidia stocks, but yeah.
that's right. You maybe did, or you would have. But the idea that because of the number, that size of the number and the costs and everything that's built into the premise of what a big time movie is, there is very few people. There's probably a couple of dozen people who greenlight these. So if you think about how many people could be making movies, and there's all right, let's even go wild, 30, 50, okay, 100 people can greenlight this. What is wrong with that system? It's because the money is so big, you have to have that a control point. And then I'm going to be looking at, do I think this? Do I think that? Well, if you look at the data, the failure rate has gone way up. The middle is completely gone. Rom-coms and things like that. Nobody is doing them anymore. There is independent film, which is really fascinating, but it's lower budget and it's not designed to have big success. And what we're seeing, and what I'm working with this startup in New York, they're in stealth right now. He said, here's the premise. You can make a $50 million movie for under $2 million. And if you don't think that's a game changer, okay, let's say he's wrong. Let's say it's $5 million. Who funds it? Who greenlights it? You greenlight it. How is it made? Where is it made? What tools are used to make it? It's all game on. That is sort of the bigger view of where what their projection is. This startup, and I actually helped them come up with this, is the internet created Netflix. Generative AI and international media is going to create unnamed stealth startup in New York, that they could be that studio, but they are doing it with mass amounts of creators. So there's that. On the other hand, you have individuals who are making a life. Sometimes it's as an influencer, they're called that, but then they get real serious. Like Issa Rae has her own media company. You know, some of these like Dude Perfect, they have a media company. And there's ones most people have never heard of. They have 6 people. They maybe expand in order to do a project to 15 or 25. And then they, just like I was describing in the old Hollywood, they then disband and go off in their own directions and do other projects. So that's the creator economy as it's going right now.
So we're in a stage where it's democratized, right? It's democratized. We now have,
Exactly.
thanks to technology,
Creativity, the creativity part is now being democratized.
well, good, because I can't watch another Spider-Man movie to save my life. But the real question, Sean,
And why do
is
those
for
get
you.
greenlit? Because it's
Yeah.
reliable. It's known. It's all these things that the traditional studios know how to do. In the just one
Sean,
other thing is in the music space,
yeah.
we're seeing the same thing. The big names are, you know, Taylor Swift runs her own business, you know, but there's ones like Post Malone. Like, where did he come from? Who would have backed that guy? Nobody, but he did. And Jelly Roll and people like this who have gone their own way and have figured out how to do what it used to be. You had to get a signed, you know, label to back you. And now you don't need it.
But Sean, could it be that we're just in a middle phase right now as AI is coming in? Could it be that all these creators are going to be completely unemployed in 5, 10, 15 years? There is a vision out there that we're going to be able to sit in front of our smart television and tell the AI agent, hey, I want to watch a movie in the style of Quentin Tarantino, but I want it to be, you know, led by Brad Pitt, and I want the other actor to be my sister, right? And you'll have a movie generated within 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Is that not where we're going with generative AI?
Yeah, that's possible. And my take would be, is there a market for that? And is that market, okay, yes, the costs of making that could be low, but is there even a market that makes a low cost, high volume capability like that possible? Because if I'm going to have low cost, you better have high volume. And I'm going to tell you, I think people like story. If you look at the history of, you know, all these media industries, the industry stuff happened within the last 100, 200 years. Story's been around for thousands of years. And I think story is where it's at. And who's going to figure out what the new story is using generative AI? I'll tell you, this company I'm working with has got one of them. And then there are other ones. I see it with students. I actually have one myself that I'm toying with. I have my notes over there every time I've got nothing on that I'm working on immediately. I'll be working on that, which is how to tell what we would call a book or a movie. Those are our assumptions. Those are like, let's get rid of them. Like, what's the new format going to look like? What is that?
But Sean, maybe the new format is individualized rather than mass market. That is, that, you know, the AI will know us so well. It's like, hey, I like this kind of music. I like this kind of movie. I like this kind of story. And then just take all the big data out there and create custom content for individual tastes. I mean, that is something that people have been thinking about when you think about like the movie writer strike in Hollywood, right? Do we really need people to write scripts anymore? Or could we not train an AI bot to say, hey, I love the movie Snatch by Guy Ritchie, and I love Tarantino, and I love Japanese samurai movies. Now make me one, you know, the way I like it.
Well, that's possible. I'm a techno optimist, so I absolutely believe that's not only possible, it'll probably happen. But I'm also, this is where I'm saying, is there a market? Is that so? A buddy of mine, we talk about certain things. I don't know where you are on the VR, AR stuff, but I have been watching VR since the 90s. And I love it when people go, "Oh my God, it's so much better now." I'm sorry, I don't remember seeing you back then. It was amazing. And it was even more amazing because you'd never seen anything like it before. And everyone keeps saying, "Oh, it's coming, it's coming." It's been coming since the 90s. It's still not, the market isn't pulling it into existence. It's somebody else is pushing it into existence. Do I think we'll get there? Probably. I just, I'm kind of worn out with, oh, but the price is so much lower now. Okay. So how many units have sold? The point I bring this one up is we get kind of hung up on that is the thing. Oh, isn't it cool? And yeah, but so this, he's a Forrester researcher, head researcher. Actually, he's a PhD from Newhouse. Got his PhD at Newhouse. That's where I met him years and years ago. Um, uh, James McQuivey, and he and I talked about VR. He's kind of on it now. He thinks it's about to break, but he used to joke it's like when you buy a trampoline for your kids in the backyard. All the kids from the neighborhood come over, everybody's on it, you feel like you did the right thing, and then it gathers, you know, leaves, that's everywhere. Snow if it's up in our area for the rest of its life as it sits out in your backyard. That is what he and I have believed VR is. It's got this fat. So what you just described with this personalized kind of just tastes to me. Again, I'm just giving in my opinion. I'd be happy to be wrong. Not really, but I'd be wrong. It just sounds like it's cool, and then it's the trampoline in your backyard. Does that have a longer term where I have to think of what my story is that I want to watch tonight when I'm going to sit down and watch a film? What I'm more interested in is where is there problems in all those elements? And how do I solve those problems? Like stories I've not heard. How can I have more stories not heard? How can I get them without having to be a subscriber ahead of time? I get that as a business model, but is that the only business model? If it is, that's weak thinking. Why can't I buy just the movie today, right now? I don't have to be a subscriber of a book publisher. I go to the, online or wherever, and I just buy the book. Why can't we use that business model with films and with television shows or whatever we call them? By the way, I think TV shows now are, you know, 15-hour films. They are beautifully shot, wonderfully produced, excellent, casting and work. They're films. So TV has become like TV, uh, and film is in this weirdness, like you're saying, another franchise movie, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I'll stop. I'll take a breath.
That's good. It's good. But Sean, as you look forward, you've been in the game for a long time, observer and participant in technology and media and their overlap. As you look forward to the next 5 to 10 years, what are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about the international side of this. That one's the one that I think we see it and we think it's an aberration. Squid Games, how'd that happen? Is that going to happen again? Someone's probably just going to try and recreate the recipe, and that's a dumb way to look at it. It's the underlying part is it was an interesting story, and people went to it, and the international side of it actually added an allure. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and where it was made and how it was made. A lot of, I don't remember exactly when it was made, but there are a lot of films that then made it because during COVID, there was no filming going on in the US. So these products that were being made in Korea or in some Pacific Rim country, there's plenty of them. Great story, great product. And now let's say, how do you transform that to have a bigger international audience? That one is the one that jazzes me the most. So story can get big. I also think we have this mistake about we measure by blockbusters. We measure by New York Times bestselling authors, and that's an old measurement. We got to stop. If we're going to measure the new by the old, we're failing. We need to come up with new ways to measure its success. And I would say windowing in all of these have a window-based success. Oh, window one, it broke even. Great. Window 2, who knows? It could get a cult following. Um, and that's success. It's a different kind of success than this one size gigantic win. Everybody's a Barbie movie. By the way, I call the Barbie movie the hot pink sunset of Hollywood. It is not
Why that?
sustainable. It's not sustainable. With 150 million in marketing, $100 million terrific story, and oh, let's go do it again. Okay, and how long is this going to last? And is this actually the stories people long for? And then how long it takes to make that? To me, I like. We'll see. I just kind of think we might look back and say that was the end. So back to your NVIDIA one. That's the one I'm looking at. Is I think the standard studios are done.
Standard studios, standard distribution, and the here it goes back to the creators who now have to compete with AI and technology
I
that
don't
in
think
many
they're going
ways
to compete
replace
with
them.
AI. Some statistics have been coming out that AI is being used for augmenting rather than replacing. And that is, there's a thing I give in one of my classes. It's you against the computer in chess. Who's going to win? The computer. But it's, how do you beat the computer? You can't. No, you have a person with a computer. The person creates a unusual randomizing that might say, well, look, I know that's probably the best move, but let's make this one. Because humans do that. Machines can't do that. Can they eventually? Yeah, maybe. I'll give it a yay, maybe. But why would we want that? That's actually where humans are particularly good. Reading rooms, getting a sense of direction, going with that gut feeling, which I actually think is a refined intelligence. It's a human intelligence. Intuition, gut feeling, all those kinds of things are actual real things. Anyway, I think AI is going to give us, before it loses massive jobs, I think it's going to give us a 4-day and then possibly a 3-day work week. I would like that, please.
All right, that's a great start right away. All right, Sean, last question. As we speak about education and getting students ready for the future, what's your last piece of advice for any student who's about to graduate?
I it's to that augmented. I tell them, look, if you're afraid of AI, you're doomed. You're young, get comfortable with it, go pay for some of them, look at the differences between them. And then when you go on that first interview, if that's what you're looking for as a job, I encourage them to start something, of course. But and I'm a realist, okay, you started something, that's not going to make it. Yeah, go get a job. But you're different when you think this way. So I tell them to talk about their squad. They're like, what? Like, you're not hiring me as my first job or an intern. You're hiring me and my squad. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, I use Claude for this. And I have I actually built a little AI that does this. And I'm going to get way more done than anybody else that you're talking to. That's the difference maker, is to use. And I had a student come back and she's telling my students, and literally at the start of her talk, she says, before I begin, I want you to pay attention to me, but I'm going to tell you what I make. And I've been out of your seat for 2 years. And they all went, oh my God. Yeah, because she's in this innovation inside of advertising world. It's a completely different pay scale. It's a completely different value proposition. Go do that. Go innovate the thing you love. Something got you to want to be a journalist or wanted you to make a movie. Go innovate it. Keep the thing that you love, the story, the feelings, that's the human stuff. And that's where I think the game
I
really
love
should be played.
I was about to end, but I don't want to end. I used to sit, my office used to be right outside of your classroom, and I listened to your super innovative
Oh my
class.
God.
Can you tell,
Oh,
can
I'm
you,
so
Sean,
sorry.
can you tell the people about what you do specifically in the Newhouse School of Syracuse University, your startup classes where students learn everything from how to build a, corporation to how to launch a startup?
So I teach creative entrepreneurship. So I don't teach entrepreneurship at the business school. I teach it at a media school. So we're all creatives. Someone wants to write a book. They want to cover this kind of news. They want to make movies. They want to make TV shows, music, etc. They already know how to be entrepreneurs and nobody's told them. So that's basically what I do is I teach them that entrepreneurship is not about a business model and a business plan. It's actually about some of that, but it's about creating something out of nothing. And we use the effectuation model, which Sarah Saravathi that's a tip to Sarah Saravathi, researcher at the University of Virginia at Darden School. And what she did is she just interviewed thousands of successful entrepreneurs, not to ask them what's their process, but to listen to their nonsense, and came up with 5 things that that entrepreneurs really do, not. And it breaks all the mythology that we have about, oh, it's the greatest idea. The idea is actually the least important thing. Back to my Scrappy Capital. We want to hear about the idea so we can see the eyes of the founders. We want to see, are they coachable? Are they able to change direction based on market indications? Or are they so built onto their business plan? We know better because we wrote the business plan over the last 3 to 5 months. Okay, we're not investing in you because you're inflexible. And guess what? This market is fast moving and changing. So that's what I teach. So I've been teaching that across all disciplines at the Newhouse School. So like all those areas I told you, filmmakers, back to journalists, PR, advertising, et cetera, et cetera. They often jump into other things. Like I have an advertising kid who's making movies. It's really terrific. I've been doing it now for 13 years. I've been asked to speak about it. That's where I'm heading next week. I told you I couldn't do next week. I'm going to Belgium to talk to students. One group's in journalism about this very thing. What should they do in this world that's changing of the creator economy? And then the other one is it's an international group of universities looking to do what I've set up at Newhouse, which is media entrepreneurship and creative entrepreneuring. So that's my kick.
Perfect.
For asking.
John, I love it. Thanks so much for coming in today. I always appreciate your
Hey, we got to do
wisdom.
for now, everybody watching. So I can tell you another
Absolutely.
video.
Sounds good. Sean, thanks so much. Have a great day.
See ya.